This year will be the 8th edition, and it's for me, and it's unarguable. It's a fact. This is going to be the biggest DMA yet, right? So we'll show you how to get into the DMAs, and secondly, we'll show you the categories that the DMAs is all about. The objective is for you to leave this room having identified the categories you want to enter. So you have some pieces of work in your mind and you're like, that's the category I want to enter. For the clients, the brand managers in the room, this is the opportunity for you to identify whether there are any categories you want to sponsor. Because you can also do that. You can be like, I want to sponsor the digital category because we have this thing going on in digital with our brand. So that's another opportunity for you. For creativity, it's also to see the kind of work you want to create in future. You know, you could be seated and you're like, okay, maybe I didn't know I could do work in the metaverse, but now clearly I can, and maybe I can win awards if I do amazing work in the metaverse. So that's another opportunity for you. So let me get right into it. Then I'll invite my two brothers in white shirts to join me as we proceed. Number one, the first step before you decide what you're entering in the DMAs, just create dope stuff, right? It has to be dope. And Louisa asked the question on how to know what dope stuff looks like, right? And Preetesh also shared the tips on how to know what dope stuff looks like. Number two, you case it. Again, casing is what Preetesh spoke about, putting it together, making sure it's in its best format and in the best way that the judge is able to appreciate what you're trying to do. So what was your challenge? What was your solution? And what are the results to prove that it actually worked? So this is you looking at your work and patting yourself in the back and saying, you know, this was some amazing thing we created. And the one thing that you should definitely do is go wild on digitalmediaawards.africa. That's where you get to submit your entry. You'll see all the categories now that you're going to show you. So let me invite Sam Onyando.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for everyone who's been able to show up today. A lot of us who've had the privilege of submitting award work, and something Preetesh said was very, very important. The categories themselves can tend to be confusing. I mean, hence the reason for this get together. But then again, acknowledging credits for the people who've done the work is something that we ought to take very seriously, because that's where people get seen. That's where people showcase talent. That's where people get noticed. That's where clients look for, I don't want to say cheap labor. No, but it's a start nonetheless. It's how you get noticed. It's how you get seen. It's how you get acknowledged. And again, like the human mind, frequency illusions. I see something, I'll see it again, I'll always remember. I'll see Rizz's name somewhere. Might not click in my head. 3, 4, 5 years later, I see it again, and I'm like, that name looks familiar. Pick him, you know. So it's the subtleties in life, and that's the beauty of the whole thing. So I'll get into it. So when we came to look at the categories, we focus on content first. I mean, we're in a digital-led world right now. Everybody's going social. Our clients show it in how they approach work. And at the end of the day, it's bang for buck. You save money out of home and radio and everything. There are platforms that still exist, but digital gives you more. We see a lot of brands nowadays. Oddly enough, funny story. A few weeks ago in this very same bar, Captain Morgan shot, I can't call it a TVC. You know, it's for bands, it's for paper. Yes, it's a mad narrative, yeah? But for industry vets, it was shot as a TVC. The irony is, it's not running on TV. It's running on digital, and the beauty of that, it gives us an opportunity to break it down. You know, we cut it into snackable content pieces, use it for a bunch of years. You know, the people in the ad, you know, that 2-year contract, you can't use it anymore. There are influencers. You just renew their contracts. We keep working with them. And it's something that can run for many years. So I'll get right into it. So for Content Awards, we have 5 very interesting categories. First one is Best Social Good Campaign. Interesting preamble because I'll play some videos just to give you a look, an idea of what we're talking about. Is ads about, giving back to the people, putting them at the forefront, and like Preetesh mentioned earlier, working with them. I call it community engagement, basically taking that inclusive approach, fostering positive impact in what you do, and at the end of the day, what we are all in it for, making someone see it beyond being an ad, but feeling included. I see myself in it. I see someone who I know who can relate to it, which is something very important to us. So social good, if it doesn't evoke emotion, this would not be the category. Second one is best in storytelling. Storytelling is not a phase. It's not a passing cloud. Storytelling is here to stay. From, as a writer, it just happens. From Paul Newman days, guys who love movie directors, when you're in that kind of mind frame, there's always a story to be told in everything, A lot of us nowadays, and again, I'll keep referencing Preetesh, of getting into the whole of what the brand manager wants, what they want you to showcase, but also haggling and having that push and pull with them, and eventually getting the work done. And a lot of people in this room can relate to the fact that the best ideas that have gone to win global accolades did not happen in a month or in a quarter or in a year, but it's just constant tagging and pushing and pulling. So storytelling basically is just having that golden thread, again, another marketing buzzword, having that golden thread throughout the campaign, where I can see where this started from, where it goes, where it's leading to. It's not just that idea of, let's post this, let's move with that, but can I see where it's going? Even if you guys stop doing this campaign, can I pick it up a few months from here or years from here and, let's still have it? Does it have potential for a 2.0? That Jack Bauer energy. And then, of course, best content marketing. And for me, the word that is synonymous with best content marketing is collaboration. Collaboration in the sense of working with your people through different agencies, how you put it out there, engaging with your communities, your influencers, or influencers nowadays, especially when it comes to content, our best partners, if you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, yeah? As opposed to paying talent to come in, jump on the work, do the 2-year contract and move on. Then of course, best multi-platform channel campaign. Omni-channel work is everything. We've seen guys are moving away from TV and radio and print and moving to digital, but can it work inversely? Case in point is what I've just talked about, the Captain Morgan ad that we just shot here the other day. Beauty about that is the brand manager is actually thinking of, this ad is so good, I will look for the money and run it on TV. Not the platform we should be on, but considering the target audience, which is, the mass consumer, which occupies majority of our market, how do you work with them? Then best blog. So these are just preambles to everything. Now, if I move to the next slide, I'll just play you guys this ad, and I will not give it a premise. I'd actually like to get what people think about what category this kind of ad falls into.
Sometimes, we think we know the full story, like how you may think you know everything that happened during Easter, specifically during the Last Supper. Well, pay close attention. We are about to reveal secrets long hidden in the scrolls of time. Bring your stools closer to your WhatsApp groups and Facebook pages, because we are taking you to a place far, far away and long time ago to tell you how the most famous supper of all time was prepared. This is the untold story of cooking for the Last Supper. John.
Hey Peter, ni aje? Umemanage kuget your stuff?
Nisha get jogo, unleavened bread, kokokuka na disposable cups. Bash lazima ishike.
Alafu, mbona Kanjo amekata maji kwa nyumba?
Wanakata maji? As in, wanakata maji ama wanakata maji?
Wanafunga pipe. Kwani hukulipia?
Nilipea Thomas pesa, nikamwambia deposit nikienda soko. Hebu mcall. Thomas, ulilipia maji?
Hapana. Nilipea Matthew alipe juu yeye ndo alikuwa anaenda tao.
Amelipa?
I doubt. Hebu mpigie usikie.
To get this tune as your ringback tone, dial 141#. Don't forget the star.
Kama si besha au biashara. Matthew, hebu focus. Maji iko?
Aya. Sinidhani Pitali aliambia Thomas niambie Judas akasort maji.
Judas tena.
Nilimcho ndio hii pesa ya maji. Akasema wazi buda, hata nilikuwa nachaga vile hiyo sekta kunaenda.
Acha nikol Judas basi.
Thank you for calling Judas. Did you know that Judas is a male Hebrew name that means the seller?
Ni aje mtongo yes.
Judas, mbona hatuna maji?
Maji? Hakuna maji aje. Mimi mwenyewe niko maji mbaya.
Ati?
Maji iko kwa wingi sana buda.
We, si maji imekatwa?
Si unajua lazima John ingetest out kidogo. Lazima lakini imebaki mingi.
Unaongea kuhusu maji gani?
Kamnyweso mzee, kamnyweso yani tei au wine. Ama mlikuwa mnataka maji gani ingine?
Judas, umenunua wine ya 30 silver pieces.
Niko na mitungi kama 15 hapa hivi.
Si unajua chemistry? Water is equal to wine. Na tuko na guest kama 100 hapa.
Ai. So mitungi 15 hazitatosha.
Unahitaji hizo pesa tulipe Kanjondo tupate maji.
I'm so stress watongo yes. Ntawasort. Sawa.
Haya. Poa. So, as you might have guessed, the biggest party of all time is now under threat. It may not actually happen. And if it doesn't, well, let's just say John will end up without a best friend and gain 11 new enemies. John, umesikia hiyo story?
Go speechless manzi. Sasa tutafanya? Na ibasha iwezi bila maji.
Hata sijui tutafanya nini sasa.
Chekiacha ni call disciples nione kama kuna ideas.
John calls Bartholomew.
Hello? Bartholomew.
John, cheki. Niko ka small meeting hapo, acha nikupigie. And then he calls James, nonetheless. Cheki oya, niko kwa boda, acha nifike. And then he moves on to Philip.
Hello? Cheki manze, niko kwa matiko na kelele bro. Cheki.
At this point, John should have known that the bash was doomed, fried and cooked. It was kaput.
Peter. Hapa ni wewe tu utasaidia manzi. Unaona tufanye?
Noma.
Judas amesema ako na mitungi ngapi za wine?
15. Mbona?
Unakumbuka wedding ya Kana?
What if to convert wine
into water? Mungu. Wow.
Don't use his name in vain sasa. Alafu tumwagio maji into mitungi zaidi. Style Elijah.
Wewe ni genius buda, wewe ni genius yani. Wacha nimekio phone call sahi tu.
Friends, we all need a friend like John, don't we? As you know today, 2019 years ago, the most famous bash successfully went down. For that one meal, John and Peter did everything in their humanly and inhumanly power to make it happen.
So a very fun campaign Njagi and his team did. We have a bunch of those, so you guys don't worry. There's more from where that came from. But where that came from, Njagi? Yeah, he wrote it, so he can in it better.
So this was done in 2020, I think, yeah? I was at Coco then, Coco Networks. Myself, Max, Ngari, whom some of you might know. and a guy called Steve Kiprono, who's currently at Dentsu as their lead animator. So that won Best in Storytelling at the DMAs, and that's why he chose to just showcase it so you can get an idea of what the storytelling side of things looks like. And it was Coco Networks were making Coco Cookers, which were these cookers. And we used to find, interesting ways because cookers are not the most interesting things to sell, So we used to find the most interesting ways to sell cookers. And for us, the Last Supper, which is a hallowed day, people never touch religion, people never talk about religion as far as brands are concerned. We thought, why not? And I guess we found a way of making it a fun advert or a fun content piece to listen to or watch, because it could play both as an audio piece or as a video piece as you watch it. And yeah, it's 7 minutes long. If you want to watch it, you can go on YouTube, search for Coco Cooker. It's Coco Cooking for the Last Supper. That's the name of the content piece on YouTube.
When I was working on Safaricom a few years ago, and when all the accounts, the entire Safaricom was at Scani, I remember we used to be reminded that the mass consumer is the biggest. So I remember at that time, our brand consumer, which is the thematic side, was about 6 million people. And the mass market occupied about 33 million Kenyans. Basically, that's Kenya, So that's why you see these tunukiwas and whatnot. So hit them with a simple stick, but also give them something impactful that is memorable. And I think Coco, I don't know where Coco is right now, but you guys had something going there. Beautiful work, Njagi. We thank you for that. Yeah, cool. So I'll get right into it. So Publisher Awards. Again, like I mentioned earlier, our publishers, our partners, we always hear about programmatic, we always talk about our influencers, but how do you get bang for buck from those guys? Those guys make your work easy. Those guys, when your brand has low production budget, yet they're already on payroll, how do we build and collaborate with them in a way that is very impactful? Because these guys are idea machines. First of all, I don't like calling them influencers. Those are content creators and maestros. Yeah, influencers is very cheapening. Yeah. So the first category in this particular space is innovative use of digital media in publishing. We work with a lot of publishers in our spaces. And the beauty of our publishers is they're always innovating in their own space. So as opposed to what we typically get all of us is our publishers will come and tell you guys, look, we have this new thing, Blue Robot. We have this thing where you can do a Snapchat lens and whatnot. And most people just jump onto the bandwagon, run their ads, move on. But if you look at it and you push them a little bit further, and ask them, can I do this on the platform? Can I change like this? Can I play with this? When you get them to think, again, we are collaborators and they're content creators, how do we fix that? So for this particular category, for you and your team to actually apply, you have to showcase, one, an innovative use of the digital media. So one, either you take something that resonates with your TA, from the publisher offering, or how you blending tech, from what you have and the kind of tech they have to offer. And most importantly, redefining storytelling. How do we leverage on that platform to already keep telling a story that you have on you? And of course, very important KPI that we can never miss out on, how do we engage on those particular platforms? And the beauty of it is it always starts with using the right partnering with the right publisher for your product. So for example, if it's a mass-led product, go to your Tucos and your whatnot, how innovating. I saw the other day, and I'm shocked, I hope there was a Naivas rep here. Naivas does something very interesting when it comes to that publisher platforms, where they partner with a publisher like Eskimi, and their timing is always right during back-to-school campaigns, and then they innovate with how they showcase the ad. They innovate so well that you'll find yourself wanting to click on a Naivas ad and a back-to-school thing, yet you've just come from Sherea as a 21-year-old, not giving a damn about that. Another thing is, another very important one, the next one is the best podcast. I mean, podcasts are redefining culture. For me as a writer, what is very unfortunate is I want people to read more podcasts and speeding it up, but it is what it is. But podcasts are doing something very interesting. One, how they are proliferating topics and discussions in society. They're making moves, they resonate with different audiences, and they don't force you, unless it's the global ones. No one forces you, unless it's hit subscribe and follow. For us, the beauty of podcasts is they're the epitome of auditory experiences. They represent that truly. You listen to a podcast in a shower, you listen to your podcast on your way to work, you listen to your podcast at work. If the meeting is boring, you'll probably have one earbud in and listen. You know, if you really want to finish. And you can even lengthen the podcast. I mean, it's like reading. You know, it's a 3-hour podcast. I listen to this section, but you'll want to finish. So what sets you apart in this particular category if you're to partner with podcasts? And I think a lot of brands are doing it well. Product placement has moved from movies to your favorite podcaster, and then boom, they hit you with moving away from the cliche of, oh, by the way, this is sponsored by Fanta, you know. But is it how you theming your podcast to the drink? Terrible example because I've looked at it. If it's Gordon's has a myriad of flavors. If it's today we're dressed in pink because in the middle of the podcast we're going to make Gordon's pink cocktails, you know, break down the craft and the story about Gordon's pink. So basically you seamlessly integrate your brand into the podcast experience, which I think is something important and it's something worth considering when submitting for this particular category. Another thing about the podcast space is basically delivering valuable insights, you know, about what you're talking about, integrating it into the podcast and information. And of course, at the end of the day, what podcasts are made for, entertaining and equally educating our audiences. Last but not least, best blog. I talked about podcasts being the epitome of auditory experiences. Blogs are the epitome of auditory excellence. And the reason why I say that is because blogging takes craft. Blogging takes time. Blogging is vulnerability. Blogging is being wholly you. And that's someone who's taking time to actually put that out there. I know a lot of us write or blog in our own ways, but we seldom share these experiences. I think the people who do that ought to be acknowledged in very interesting ways and ought to be celebrated in their own ways. And that's the beauty of this particular category. The reason why I'd say this category is important because I think it has the easiest opportunities, the lowest hanging fruit by the in-publisher awards. Reason being is, one, it takes an inclusive approach. And when I say inclusive, because it creates a community. Bloggers don't seek shares or likes that much. Bloggers seek communities. When it's inclusive for people who share what I have to give, and I can tell you guys for free right now, a big community growing as much as we're drinking is that the sober curious folk. You know, I'll start my blog, maybe I started my sober curious blogging story 5-10 years ago. I had like 100 to 150 people on. Now you can comfortably get 2,000, not of things that you're sharing right now, but off of previously shared stories, that kind of stuff. Another thing about it is the content has to be compelling. And that's why I keep saying it's the lowest hanging fruit. By the time you're already lending your heart out of there to share something that is very dear to you, it has to be compelling. And then, of course, easy peasy, engaging storytelling. Yeah, and I'll play something. So I'll show you guys how the country looks right now. The Sandwich Podcast. These lads are moving mad. You know, lads and lady. They're moving mad. But the beauty about this screenshot, it shows the mix. You have the Sandwich Podcast there. Yet you still have Joel Austin in here. You have Joyrad. You have Man Talk, TMI. So this can show you the different experiences that Kenyans go through on a daily basis. Not seeking validation, but seeking similar experiences shared. And brands really tap into this podcast because you can have experiences where Joel Austin taps into what I'm feeling at a particular time. Yet the Sandwich Podcast will give me hype for the weekend activities or just nostalgia and whatnot. And brands really tap into these kinds of podcasts because how are you showing up with it? You know, is it mics are open because Jimani is there? Jimani is synonymous with football. Ashley, maybe people know her from Ashley, as Ashley is, you know, and maybe as a brand partner for different brands. So how are the brands tapping into this? So you just have to look into how your brand has tapped into the podcast presence beyond this is a paid partnership. We see it a lot, on stories, and guys just say post a boti and say hashtag paid partnership. That's not it. There's no story there. There's nothing profound, there's nothing compelling, there's nothing moving. So that is something very important when it comes to partnering with podcasts. This is actually ranked based on what Kenyans listen to. And that's the beauty of it. As a brand, it's a two-pronged approach. Do I jump into a podcast based on popularity, or do I hit Google and check what's trending? And that's why you have to be very conscious and intentional as to who you want to partner with. Am I partnering with Sandwich Podcast because Sandwich Podcast is popular, yet I'm Nairobi Chapel? I should be partnering with Joel Austin, things like that.
Yeah, and to add some context to this, for this particular category, it's not about who has the biggest listenership. It's a creative award at the end of the day. So it's about who's making the best use of their podcast to meet a particular end. So if a brand does podcasts, it doesn't mean they can't win because they are not as big as the Sandwich Podcast, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that. We have the L'Oreal rep from Dents over here. And for you, no, not like that. Don't come here like that. No, you guys, I'm using you because a lot of babes love podcasts, especially local podcasts. And you can always, there's the ability to jump onto the easiest thing. So like when Jules and the over 25 babes broke up, now she started her own thing. You have your TMI babes talking about different things. You could choose the easy way out and say, hey, look, this is happening. Let's go partner with them. But you guys can easily recuse yourselves and assess the situation and say, look, bank for buck. You know what? We might not even go with Jules or TMI. Let's go with Sandwich Podcast. Let's have these guys rating female products and whatnot. It's different, it's innovative, it's playful, it's fun, it's engaging. Yeah? So that kind of approach, just stepping out of the lane, doing something different, that always captures consumer attention. And I think now the last one for me is tech. Tech, of course, I'll be very quick on this. It's everything, another low-hanging fruit. There are a lot of young people nowadays. Today I was reading something and Preetesh showed it on drum. You guys, you should read the drum. It's very insightful, really, really dope. And talking about how a lot of people are moving into things like motion. Motion is not even the biggest thing in this category, but you can play around with motion so much that it shows so much innovation in tech. So innovative use of tech. I think I've said it. How do you leverage on that? Best website, microsite by corporate, keyword corporate. How are you engaging? How are you keeping me on the platform? How are you doing something different with it? Best campaign landing page. Again, kiss me there. Everybody in this room, I believe, knows I'll call it awards. Yeah, the awards website page. Best mobile web app. First of all, I'll stay here for a bit because best mobile web app stroke is very interesting. A lot of guys, devs build for web. And then the mobile experience is terrible. It's bad. Yeah? But how do you make it seamless on both sides? How are you able to showcase that in a fun way? And then this is where now the beauty of the previous category helps because one, if my mobile experience is very dope and I can be able to incorporate partner publishers within there that I can still sell and let you keep scrolling. I think for this category, doom scrolling is a thing. Then you'll doom scroll on TikTok or Instagram. If I can keep you on my platform that much, that would be really interesting. And we'll play examples of that. Best use of metaverse and new realities. Fun fact, nobody gives a damn about the metaverse anymore. That's the irony. But how do we make it important for us? I think the last time I interacted with the metaverse was when Heineken was launching Heineken 0.0. And they tried to have a bash like this on Heineken. Knowing the brand, if it was physical, they'd have had many people, but the metaverse party had this same number of people. Best digital tools, software. Again, interesting example. For digital tools and software is ease of use for the consumer, ease of access, and bang for buck. What do I get out of it? Do I have fun with it? Would I share it with someone else? Then best e-commerce site. For e-com, I think this lends to itself. User interface, user experience. Do you keep me on the platform? Do I get what I want to do? Is my journey less than 4 to 5 steps? And would I share it? Yeah? And the last but not least, most innovative application of AI in digital media. A lot of brands nowadays, AI came in, everybody uses AI to do their creative. And we're using it in the most basic way. You know, I'm sure everybody in this room has said this statement, that's AI. You know, everybody has said it, you know. But how can we push it in a way that we're like, okay, shit, I didn't know that's AI, you know. But interesting application, how do I use it? How do we make it work for us? Case in point, the ad Preetesh played, and it's always low-hanging fruits. The one for the cars on the road, that idea came from Ready Player One, if you watch that movie. Yeah. So I'll just play some references as to what we're talking about. Preamble to this. So Diageo, for example, has been one of the brands where globally we've been using AI in other markets. We've seen it with Don Julio, we've seen it with Johnny Walker. Then we tried the other day, and just jokingly, we're like, you know what would it cost us to do a CGI experience? We looked for suppliers, and we found guys out here who are not being exposed, but let's partner with them, and let's work with them. So fun fact about this first one, we're announcing Walkertown, and the idea was literally borrowed from what we did for Walkertown Global. But we're like, you know what, how do we bring it to the local market? Dumb it down. CGI is still a very exciting thing for Kenya. We know people will get excited, but making it realistic and playful. Shout out to the nice and lovely team, by the way. We saw what you guys did. Dope stuff. So the internet is awash with make-believe experiences. For this, we didn't want to just put out CGI out there for the sake of we're doing CGI. We wanted to use it as part of the pre-hype for Walkertown. And you can see he's literally walking to Casa. Yeah? He's walking to the stadium. It's a striding man. What made this come to life is we actually partnered with this guy through the whole thing. When he was modeling the guy, to the subtleties of the ground shaking, to him actually going on ground and recording the whole thing. And then the next one was a very interesting campaign out of our friends from South Africa. Rest in peace, Ricky Rick. And I'll just play it.
South Africa is mourning the loss of rapper and fashion designer Ricky Rick.
Tributes are pouring in for South African rapper Ricky Rick.
Just 34 years old and extraordinarily talented.
I think his fans still don't want to believe this news.
Looking at the statistics within South Africa, we have one of the highest rates of suicide.
We didn't just lose a massive musical talent, but a person whose words uplifted everyone around him.
Ricky knew exactly how to lift your spirits.
Inspired by Ricky's last tweet, we created Stronger, a hip-hop track that turned Ricky's social media posts into rap lyrics. And with the help of AI, we gave his voice new life.
As we scrolled through all the social media posts, we realized that there were song lyrics there. And piecing it all together, we only used Ricky's words. They're all from the post. And now, with the help of AI, Ricky's voice will live on forever and leave people with a message of hope.
God gave us the gift of life, now it's up to ourselves to gift ourselves our own gift of living it well. I just want to leave something that people can build on. When I'm gone, my legacy.
Stronger grounds our connection to mental health and well-being.
I really do think Ricky's words provide a lot of hope for not just the fans, but like us as well as a family.
I think that his words will resonate with a lot of people that are struggling with their mental well-being.
We didn't just bring his words back to life. We gave mental health a voice.
At this stage of my life, I don't really care how people remember you. As long as I've left something that people can build on.
A bit of context for this piece of work. I don't think they showed the bit of AI quite well, but what they did is they took, so he died by suicide. They took his tweets, fed those tweets into an AI machine that converted them to lyrics. They found someone who can rap using Ricky Rick's style. He rapped the song. They took his voice, again using AI, turned his voice to sound like Ricky Rick, and that's how they released the song. There was a lot of tech they used for that case study. It won a number of awards last year at the Loeries. You can go check it out. Ricky Rick, Stronger.
Nice. So that's it from me. Before I introduce the next person, Andrew, you'll be happy with what I'm doing here. So I'm going to give a FLA a 4-letter acronym that will lead into the next writer, to the next person speaking. It's RIS, RIIS, which means for every category you put in, the work has to resonate, is immersive, is interactive, and is strategic. You keep those 4 things in mind, you're good. Riz, you can take the stage now.
It is indeed a pleasure to speak to you guys again. Like I said earlier, I think it just becomes a lot more difficult and a bit more pressure to speak after Brian and Sam. And especially, I think next time we'll just do a category for Sam only to speak. But we're going to talk about Digital Craft Awards. So Digital Craft Awards is a very, very large umbrella, but I'm going to whiz through it quickly for the interest of time and just also not to take away the integrity of what we're talking about, but at the same time, just drive the message home. So under Digital Crafts Awards is a bunch of subcategories. So you've got your Best Motion Graphics and Animation. You've got Best Brand Communication Design, which is talking about brand collateral design. You've got Best Digital Illustration and Image Design. And then there's Best Use of Digital Out-of-Home Advertising and Best Digital Audio. However, this is really in answering to a question asked earlier by Austin, that are you able to win if you don't have like a very good idea, but you've got good craft? Or are you able to win, but maybe the idea has not been beautifully presented, but you've got a lot of stuff that's going into the other supplementary things, the component. And this is really to address Austin on behalf of many other people. So sometimes an idea cannot be that amazing, but you look at what has gone into it and you go like, oh wow, that is a lot of work. That's a lot of input and everything, attention to detail and everything has been put into it just kind of speaks to me. I'll give a bit of an example. It might not be the most amazing, but when I think of like best motion graphics or best motion animation is when you look at like the Fatboy graphic of Capinto. I have no idea what the idea is, but when you look at that animation, it is fantastic. The detail, the little pot belly jiggling, the shots going this way and that way, and his intonation and the voice is of people you know, but he cannot be the character of those people. But you sort of get absorbed and get immersed into the message, and this is craft. So the idea might not be up there, but the craft and the journey that this piece of work invites you into joining them makes you really appreciate it. So maybe so much to the extent that you might actually want to find out who is the person behind it, what was the idea, is it addressing a message, a problem, solving something? But again, when you look at it purely for craft's sake, you might actually want to recognize the artist behind that amount of intensity and craft. That is under digital craft. Under it, again, will be brand communication design and brand collateral. So sometimes, again, you look at some pieces of work and you look at how a logo has been brought to life, or how bits and pieces of what in the previous world would have been business cards or banners or all sorts of POS materials that are brought to life through, you know, the design of it. And now we're in that digital space. So some things are actually coming through in that digital space. Sometimes you actually bump into a QR code. You scan that QR code and it transposes you into a very beautiful universe of design and craft. So again, the idea might be amazing. The idea might make you automatically award that particular job, but sometimes the supporting pieces take you on that just amazing journey of creativity and craft and go like, hey, this is incredible. Like I said, again, in the interest of time, I'm going to whiz through this, but not to take away from the experience, because when you go onto the DMA website, you can go through that whole journey in your own time. Us is just to give you a quick guideline to what you might expect and what we are looking for. There's also the best use of digital illustration and design, which is almost an extension of what I just spoken earlier. And then there's best use of digital out-of-home advertising. Now, out-of-home, as we have known it traditionally, was everybody thinks out-of-home, you're going to look at a billboard, you're going to look at an A-frame, you're going to look at things that you look at a shop and you want to get a bit engaged and walk in. But in the digital space, that has sort of moved on a bit. We've got a lot more immersive experiences. We've got a lot more engaging experiences. We've got a lot more innovation. We've got a lot more disruption. And sometimes, again, you've got situations whereby promotional items are not the way we used to meet them before. They're a lot more engaging. They're a lot more uplifting. They're a lot more innovative. They're a lot more original. And some of the stuff is so nice, it's so dope that it doesn't even make you feel like this is Kenya anymore. It could be something that's so amazing that can actually work not just here, can work in a different region, in a different market, in a different continent, even in the first world. Again, we are looking all at that originality, that excellence of quality and craftsmanship that then we're going to be willing to award and say, this speaks to us. Again, like I said, you'll indulge me, but I'm going to sort of whiz through this a bit. There's the best digital audio ad. Now, this is pretty much, if you think about in this part of the market, radio is still relevant, but it's not as in your face as it was years ago because people's attention span has kind of shifted a bit. But you'll be very surprised, not too far from here, especially in South Africa, radio is very, very much alive. We do interesting radio. My creative partner here, Njagi, has done actually a very, very beautiful piece, which you'll hear not too long from now. But the thing is this, radio is still very, very relevant. Radio is still very engaging. And some examples I want, for the interest of time, I won't share with you, but you can go online and you see the examples we're talking about. In other markets, radio is still so engaging that they take regular things, personify them, and they take you onto such a beautiful journey that almost when you close your eyes, you're not only listening to radio, but you can actually see the radio in your imagination. And radio is also very, very memorable because the beauty about radio is that you can change it dynamically very, very quickly and make it very, very engaging. Also in Kenya, we have got, I don't know how many tribes there are now, but you can make radio very contextual. You can make radio the same big, bold, beautiful idea with a Lunje accent and it just connects. Or you can make radio and put in some nice, beautiful, regional, contextual messaging, and it's a radio from Central Province, or Nyanza Province, or Coastal. And the beauty with radio also is that you can amplify a message in terms of culture, in terms of contemporaneous, in terms of, I'll give an example. Not too long ago when ghetto radio started, people felt like ghetto radio was ghetto. It was on the other side of the world. But when everybody got on board, they realized it was speaking to a much wider audience. And now we don't have audiences that categorize each other by economic positioning, but in terms of the messaging. So again, there's an opportunity to do some very beautiful digital radio ad and digital audio that can also give you an opportunity to win an award. And there's brands right now that also realize that they might not have big budgets, but they know that the people they want to reach, like in deep rural areas, radio works for them. So there's an opportunity to also win awards in that space. The next category I'm going to look at is, or we're going to look at, is a Young Creative Award.
Shot load shedding. Yuck, and look at this ant trying to steal my Sami crumbs just because it's dark. Yeah, he's got that crumb. Now all he needed was the gumption to get it back home to his beautiful bride and their 74,200 39 million suckling larvae. Now, listen, he couldn't be sure if this crumb was good enough for his queen, but he knew that it was 20 times his body weight, and that was good enough to last the winter. So off he traveled, bonking heads with fellow crumb tumblers along the way, sharing tales of trophallaxis and the like. His whole wheat bread crumb, the only thing giving him hope in these dark times. For this is the ballad of Anthony Mandibles, cowboy of the crumb. How are you keeping yourself entertained when the lights go out? Get the DSTV app and keep watching your favorite shows instead, even during load shedding.
All right, I thought I was going to skip over that, but Brian couldn't help himself, and I understand. So when you listen to a radio ad, it doesn't matter from what part of the world it is, but it's actually very relatable. He's talking about a situationship. The language is what you can relate yourself to. And the thing is that the message in that, the brand doesn't come out and overwhelm you and hijack the message. You enjoy the narrative, you get the message, and when the brand comes in, you realize, oh shit, excuse my language, but that's what they were all about. Again, like I said, radio is still very, very interesting. It's just a matter of having a very good story, a good narrative, and elevating the craft to it, and then it becomes a lot more memorable, right? So the next category is the Young Creative Awards. This is an award that celebrates creators who have demonstrated creativity, innovation, and rapid growth on the online presence. So of course, I mean, most of the young people, and some of them in this room, have got this boundless energy, this fresh thinking, and sometimes they take us onto journeys that actually want us feel and get engaged with them. And we have also realized that there's an opportunity. You know, everybody says, we're talking about the OGs, you're talking about what is relevant right now. But then again, we need to have that sense of continuity, that sense of saying that, you know, advertising is alive and well and is going somewhere. And the people who actually really take this and espouse what we're talking about is the Young Creative Awards. And the Young Creative Awards also does not mean that we're just awarding them for the sake of their youth and the sake of fresh thinking, but it's like very robust thinking, very meaningful communication, and a lot of input and sacrifice in the craft. So this award then, you know, whether through their storytelling, educational content, entertainment, these creators captivate their audiences and show great potential to shape the future of digital media. And this award highlights those who are on the verge of breaking through and making a lasting impact in the content creation industry. And you've seen, some people loosely term them as Gen Z. Sometimes I feel like they're a lot more than that. Not just because they're young and energetic, but they're a lot more than the circumstances. So in the creative space, these are people that we want to embrace, and we want to award them for really, really good work that comes through. The next category is a Grand Prix Award. This is a big one. So in the Grand Prix Award, you're going to have...
One second, please, sorry. So for the Young Creatives Award, it's the only award that you can enter for free. So if you know any young creatives, they don't need to worry about entry fees. Just tell them to put together a case study, submit it, and that's all they need to do. Yeah, so thought I should add that context.
Oh, thank you very much, Brian. And that actually triggered me. What we did at the beginning of the year, we did have an initiative where I wanted to look at the young creative talent and what they've got to offer. And if you recall, Brian, we were completely blown away. We took a very sensitive subject, almost a taboo subject in this part of in our country, which is about femicide. And wanted to see like how will they communicate about it without being overly dramatic, without being macabre and dark. And the ideas that came through was they didn't stereotype anything. The ideas that were communicative, they were educational, they were uplifting, but at the same time they brought us to the realization of just what a stark statistic was for femicide. Again, had it come from maybe a lot older audience, We have definitely gone in that patronizing space, finger pointing and telling you the do's and don'ts. What they did is they embraced a very, very adverse circumstance and situation, and they made it a lot more positive and more optimistic, and realized what this is something we need to stop doing, and we need to be gender blind and understand that this is very, very unnecessary to have femicide, and we need to embrace the other gender as equals. Conversation for another day, but thank you for bringing that up. We now look at the next category, which is the Grand Prix Award, and under that, it's a very, very large umbrella. So we've got Agency of the Year, Brand of the Year, Creative Director of the Year, Digital Marketing Manager, and Director of the Year. And within this, when you look at Agency of the Year, is that we are looking at whoever secures the coveted Agency of the Year awards. And this is a very, very exceptional agency. So again, we looked at, you've got your young creatives there, you've got your digital craft, you've got exceptional ideas, and we've got all these things rolled into one for you to be able to get that Agency of the Year award. But then it carries a lot of responsibility, in the sense that you have got people who want to deliver a message, people want to change a culture, people want to change a mindset. And that's why you've got then, your Austins, and you've got your Sams, and you've got me, my experience. You've got the inquisitiveness and the business acumen of Muthoni. You've got Louisa, you've got Andrew. And when you take all that and you put into one, what is that one very pithy, one very deep insight, one amazing communication that you can then put into one piece of work, or 2 or 3, or a campaign that then resonates with everybody, addresses a problem, solves a problem, changes a mindset, transforms a business, elevates a culture, and everything in between. So it's a very, very difficult award to win, and that is Agency of the Year. Then you've got Brand of the Year. The Brand of the Year is the standout brand that distinguishes itself through unwavering dedication to excellence, innovation, and creative brilliance, showcasing relentless commitment to delivering unparalleled success in the realm of digital campaigns. These are many. I've got my favorite campaigns, and I don't want to sound biased. There's brands that on the face of it represent a particular category. You've got brands that when you look at them on the face of them, you see alcohol, but they've got a lot of meaning to what they want to communicate. Right now, we're in the middle of doing Johnny Walker. Forget about the event of last weekend, but there's a campaign called She Walks. This is such an amazing campaign that it creates much larger conversations, right? Everybody says women empowerment, gender balance, but then what do we do about it? As a brand, we've realized the amazingness and the potential and just the awesomeness of empowering the other gender. And we just don't empower them because we feel it's the other gender, but just because of what they bring on board. And we don't just award them because it's tokenism. They are equal partners. So you find that a brand that is brave enough to get out of the comfort zone and embrace things that people see as stereotypes, as taboo, and we come out with a beautiful narrative and a beautiful piece and work, that then is deserving of. So sometimes I just gave that one example, but there's many. In the interest of time, I could have given 2 other examples, but I think I'll skip one quickly. And then we have got Creative Director of the Year. This is a very, very large honor. For you to be able to win Creative Director of the Year in these awards and this particular platform, it just means that you can try and imagine there's a lot of amazing work going on out there. And all this work is, again, all of it is very, very competitive. All of it is very, very meaningful. All of it is addressing issues, solving problems, and also elevating creativity. But behind all that, there's somebody who puts all that all together. There's a chef, there's a leader, there's a chaperone who makes sure that all this comes together in a very, very, very beautiful way. That particular person definitely does deserve, an accolade, does deserve recognition. A creative director is not just all about creativity or art. He's also a business thinker. In other space, also an HR person, because you need to identify who are the people who are good enough to take you from this space to that space. And also understand that a good idea is not just an idea for creativity's sake. It's an idea that is going to address a business challenge. There's some people whose work is to make sales and reach certain KPIs, but they're relying on you for a creative solution to a business problem. So a good idea, again, touches on all these things. A good idea that will transform a business, put in the space of profitability, make everybody look good, and at the same time, showcase creativity. So a creative director of the year is a very, very high accolade in this category. And lastly, we're looking at digital marketing manager director of the year. You can have an amazing idea. It just becomes an amazing idea on a PPT, and that's it. You also need brave clients. You also need people who are open-minded to see that it's not just a creative idea, but this idea will make us look good, will transform our businesses, will make people talk about us, will be trending. Henry the OG will say, oh my God, that thing you guys unleashed last week, not only did you make the client feel happy about us, but it's incredible. So again, because of this, you've got brand managers, you've got clients, you've got her, you've got people who not only like creative work, they want to be part of the creative process. We've had a situation whereby a client actually wants to be part of the brainstorm. And this is very, very beautiful. And because of that then, it means that you've got a nice, beautiful idea. It won't just be an idea on PPT. It's going to be an idea that's going to live beyond the PowerPoint presentation, onto the billboards, onto the social media spaces, onto people's conversations, into our conversations, over and beyond that. And that is a Digital Marketing Manager Award or the Director of the Year Award.
This last category that Rizz hasn't spoken about, I'll quickly just run through it. It's agency awards. Agency awards are basically awards awarded to the agency. Based on the work they've entered, a score is collated and it's given to that agency. So you'll have best digital marketing campaign, best influencer marketing campaign, best audience engagement. So how well did you engage your audience on digital? Best influencer stroke outreach campaign. Sam spoke about influencers, and best community engagement award. Looking more into the social impact space with that last one. Like I said as in the beginning, this is going to be the biggest DMA yet, 8 years later. Actually, the DMA is as old as my firstborn. So it's going to be the biggest one yet, and my first one is quite big. So what is changing with the DMAs this year? It's going from being this big to being that big. Basically, it's coming from being a Kenya-only award to becoming an East African-wide award. I know we've been talking about Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, but if you also have colleagues in Rwanda and Burundi who have amazing work, they can enter into the DMAs. And this is the first time the DMAs are going into those countries. And I believe, Rizz, correct me if I'm wrong, this could be the first regional award we've had, right? Yes, this is the first East African award show we have. Jesse also agrees. So that's a big deal. And that's why I say this is going to be the biggest DMA yet. So apart from us competing amongst ourselves here in Kenya, we'll be competing with our counterparts in East Africa, in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi. So huge news. So let's clap for that, because you guys are making history. Yeah, you're being part of history. The second thing that's going to change with the DMAs this year, we're moving from our kawaida hangout here in the city. You know, the traffic of Nairobi, sijui mvua imenyesha kidogo, huwezi toka mahali, ufike mahali before 2 hours are done, you know. We're running away from all that. Your bosses won't even know where you are, because we are taking you to this wild place. Can people guess where this is? Someone shout the name. Someone shout it. Say it to your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor and tell it. Ati? Andrew says Masai Mara. Who else wants to try? Austin, what do you say? Naivasha. Who else wants to try? Marie, what do you say? Huh? Hey, and Ashipai, specifics. Who else wants to shout from this side? Henry, what do you say? Naivasha. Yes, this year the DMAs are going to Naivasha. Yeah, so, I mean, creatives, we like a good time. So we want you to go to a place where no one is going to bother you with briefs, where you can decompress. Yeah, it's going to be at the end of the year. You can look back at 2024, look at all the amazing work you've done without the hustle and bustle of Nairobi. Sawa sawa. That's the ambition, that's the objective. You go to Naivasha. What is Modoni? The only pitch is the soccer pitch. Skia copywriters. The only brief is the one you're going to be wearing as you go to swim. So it's going to be that kind of a day, okay? And it's going to be 3 days of fun-packed adventure, all right? So from the 5th to the 7th of December, 5th is going to be a Thursday. 6th is going to be a Friday. 7th is a Saturday. So the 5th ideally is a traveling day. You get there, you meet a couple of guys. There'll be master classes, right? Yeah, there'll be master classes. You get to learn, hearing from industry experts. So the 5th is a bit chill. The 6th, again, a bit more master classes, a bit more learning. Then on the evening of the 6th, you'll either be celebrating or heartbroken. Either way, you have excuses to go to Party Island. You go there, party all you want, right? The 7th, again, more excuses to go to Party Island because we said you're going to Party Island anyway, right? So the 7th is a Saturday, you go party. Yeah. Whether you're celebrating or heartbroken, no one cares. Celebrate, network, learn, meet new people, meet old people. Like we're going to take over Naivasha, that's the plan. So make sure you're booking your tickets early enough, both traveling tickets and accommodation tickets. Go to the Digital Media Awards page. They'll be sharing all the details of accommodation, travel options you have. Because honestly, guys, if you don't come to Naivasha this year, from the 5th to the 7th, the FOMO will be killing you mad. Especially if you're someone seated with briefs. Yeah? So go to our tag personally. At Marie. Look at where I am. Views right now. And your heart will be palpitating like this, looking at your boss, wanting to strangle them, right? So don't do that. Just come to Naivasha. Let's have an amazing time. Allow me to thank all of you for coming through the rain, through the darkness, through the traffic. On a Monday, after Walker Town, it's been, this is a sacrifice. We do not take it for granted. Sam, myself, Rizz, highly appreciated. Feel highly appreciated by you for taking the time to come over and allow us to share the knowledge that the DMAs have allowed us to share with you.